Hello.
Okay. I was muted. I wonder where the participants knock, I guess. Yeah, like every time is like new.
Okay.
They are going to join, but is that I need to look at people entering and admit.
So I'll stop the video now, okay?
As you like. Yeah. But don't miss us, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Can't see you
Here.
yet. I can see you. Hi.
Hi.
Venus here. All right. Is there anyone knocking? No, not yet. Irina, who comes?
I'm here.
Okay. Oh, hi. Okay. Well, somebody is going to join. I was promised 6 people. So they say that if there are fewer than 6 people, we will have the seminar.
Won't have or will?
We,
Won't.
I mean, yeah, like when 6 people subscribe, we have the seminar. It's better to have 7 or 8, but unfortunately, we don't know which time to offer. I tried different times, and still it's 6 to 7 people anyway. Nobody else is knocking at the moment. Like maybe we can wait a couple of minutes. How are you, ladies? Have you just finished work?
Almost. That's 2 hours before that.
Okay. Do you mean you're going to have the seminar and then a few more lessons?
No. I finished when I finished at 7 our local time.
2 hours ago. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 hours ago.
2 hours ago. I see.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Okay. Hello. Yeah. So that's 4. 2 more people should come. And I'm not sure. Let's give them 2 minutes. Irina, okay. It's Julia, right?
What?
Julie? Yeah, Julie is Julia. I see. Yeah, in my in Skype it's Julia, and here Julie, and they didn't. And Helen.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. So 6 people. Helen, are there supposed to be 6 people, or are we waiting for somebody else?
7 people are supposed to come, but
okay.
I cannot see who is here. That's why.
Yeah.
No, I can see. Well, maybe is Maria here?
No.
No, Maria is not here yet.
Maybe Maria will join. She promised, but she's just finished.
So only Maria is absent yet. Yes. Okay. So looking like not to leave her out, because I need to admit her. Okay, good. So on this gloomy Tuesday night, I'd like to welcome you all here. In fact, I've talked about today's topic with most of you, but I'd like to make like a summary and thinking of how to arrange it. It was difficult, like to talk about everything or most of things within my within one seminar, but I hope I've created a good system for that. We'll see. But Marina said that one more seminar will be okay. But I hope we'll manage within one. Before we get, the topic is not announced in the name of the seminar. I guess it should be done, but okay, maybe next time. And before we start, I have a question. We know that we are teaching in communicative methodology, and we are training to communicative approach, right? So my question is, what is communicative approach all about?
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's answering?
I'm not sure. I can hear sounds and I think that it's somebody knocking, but it's not. What is that? Okay, so who can say? Communicative approach. What is it all about?
It's about creating situations where a student can practice his or her speaking skills. So this situation is close to real life. So,
you mentioned only speaking skills, but in fact we know that there are 4 language skills.
Yeah, sure.
To train all language skills.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Or at least as close to life, as close to natural language acquisition as possible. All right. So let's keep this thing in mind, because I hope it will help us during the seminar. So, first of all, the topic today is receptive skills. And I'll be sharing a document. Okay. Once again, every time like new. So, what are? If you want to say something, you need to turn on your micro. You remember, right? Receptive skills. What are they?
Listening and reading.
Listening and reading. Why are they called receptive?
Yes,
We receive information. We receive information.
That's right. Okay. And just to make sure that everybody knows, what are the other skills? What are they called?
Productive.
Productive skills. Yes, and what are they?
Writing,
speaking.
Okay. Although you're all speaking in a choir, I can hear everybody quite well. So I was thinking of how to present this, and I decided that it's easier to show on the model of reading, frankly. So we'll start with reading, and then we'll see how listening is different. If there is any significant difference. So, first of all, let's talk about what people read.
Dialects or articles, texts.
Okay. Wait, what happened? It's, this new word, and I'm not sure. So, okay. You said dialects. What kind of dialects, and why would people read dialects? Look, just a second. We are not talking about classroom. We're talking about real life.
Newspapers, magazines, and so on.
Yeah.
Internet content.
Let's talk about the internet. It's not always the same. So you said magazines, right? What else?
Yeah, newspapers.
Okay, they can go together with magazines.
Books, maybe some fiction.
Yeah.
Messages, emails.
Okay.
Timetable.
Very good. Where? Give an example, please.
Airport.
Where else?
Some instructions, maybe.
Just a second, we're still talking about timetables. Where?
Timetables.
Train station.
So airport, train station. Where else?
Maybe at work if it's connected, like with I know, school, university.
Okay, or maybe if it's a
Cinema.
company.
Yeah.
You said, Julie, you said. Julia said something. You said.
I said cinema, like cinema timetable.
Cinema, yeah. Okay, so various timetables. What else?
Maybe science.
Let's go.
Science.
Science. Can it go to articles?
Yeah.
Okay, so let it be different articles, scientific articles. Okay, what else?
Maybe some instructions or somewhere.
Okay, what else?
Sorry.
There was someone said the word signs, like no smoking.
Signs.
Not signs like the
I'm sorry.
It's not me. Someone said.
Signs. You're right. They are signs, or there are also a different type of text. Signs or no.
Notices. Notices.
Notices. Very, very close. Yes, signs are like shorter. Notices are a little bit longer. Okay. Notes, you said, right?
Advertisement.
Okay. What else? Let's think about ads and what kind of them.
Like classifieds. If it's about the newspaper, then.
What was the first word you said?
Classifieds, like in newspaper or classifieds.
I'm not sure. Classifiers like this?
DS, classifieds.
Yeah.
DS in the end.
Oh, what else? If we think about adverts, what else can there be?
Give a tip.
Julie,
leaflets. Leaflets, yeah. Leaflets.
It's very important because we very often read them. Okay.
Flyers.
Okay.
It's the same. Same.
Maybe some posters or big boards. Also.
Billboards, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Posters. Billboards. I'm putting them together because they are in fact similar. Sorry. Okay. I'm not sure about classifiers.
By the DS in the end. DS.
What is it?
Yeah.
This?
Yeah, like in newspaper, they are according to topics. They are divided into topics or something like that. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Are they like reports, newspaper reports?
Excuse me?
Are they like newspaper reports? I've never encountered this word.
No, it's like they are divided into groups. For example, for people who want to rent a car, so there is classified, and then for people who want to buy a flat, there is a column in newspaper.
Yes. I've never heard this word, so.
Okay.
The more you learn, the less you know. Okay. Is there anything else?
Blogs on the internet.
Okay. Blogs. What else?
Maybe ingredients on the food, on the boxes with food. I don't know.
Food labels.
Food labels, yeah.
Okay.
Product labels.
I wanted to put like recipes.
Recipes.
Okay, here you said food labels. Okay,
can be like job description, like requirements for
job offers, something like that.
Okay. They are ads, and when it's a job offer, it's already when you are accepted.
Yeah.
Labels. My labels. Have I spelled something wrong?
Labels.
Yeah.
B-E-L probably. Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. I was also thinking about bedtime stories.
Oh yeah.
Others, yeah, you probably know what they are. Okay. And I also have news on my list.
All right.
Here to adverts, I would also add announcements. Or maybe like signs, notices, and announcement. I'm not sure where to put them. They can go to either group, I think. Nonsense. Like this. Okay, so these are the things we read. And now let's look at these things we read and think about, well, first, why we read them. I think we might put them into groups. Some of them we read for one purpose, and others we read for a different purpose. Take a look at them for a minute, and then tell me what you think.
Into groups? Divide them into groups or what?
Well, I wouldn't say that they are like they can be clearly divided into separate groups, but I think that there are several different reasons, or at least two different reasons why we read
them. For entertainment. One.
For information and other to get some information.
Okay, let me perhaps for some reason I skipped it. So why do we read? And that is wait, hello Kitty. Okay. For
Information.
Okay.
Probably for communication. Sometimes some of them like emails, messages, some notes to communicate. Maybe for education as well. Or we can put it in the information.
Yeah, it's for information. Let's put it together, yes. Information and education. All right. Although I'm not sure. I think the manner of reading will be different. Okay. So these are the things we read in life, and these are like the main reasons. These are probably the main reasons why we. Okay. And finally, let's get down to how we read these things.
Aloud sometimes, or what do you mean?
Scan, scan, and for detailed information.
Okay. Can you repeat that, please?
Skim.
Okay. Look.
Scan and
Yes.
for
Okay. Of course, I'll put it here. Skim. Scan. Skim and scan. But look, now I'd like us to think like bigger, and maybe look at different ones. Somebody said aloud, right? Okay. And how many of these things, from our list, do we actually read aloud, or do we regularly read aloud?
Bedtime stories.
Yeah.
Only bedtime stories, yeah.
Or books, or it depends on the person, how he or she likes reading.
Maybe signs, if we need to inform someone about these signs, we can read them aloud, or announcements.
I like that. So we read them aloud if we want to inform somebody.
Somebody about that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. For example, on the phone, or I don't know, somebody's looking the other way.
Yeah.
Like that. And what's the reason for that? Why do we say this aloud? Why do we read this information aloud?
To check whether a person or you understand it clearly in the right way.
And
Yeah.
can this other person read this themselves?
No, because you read it for him or for her.
Yeah, so that is the only reason why we actually read this aloud. Somebody said bedtime stories. Why do we read them aloud?
Because a child can't read.
Or later, as a family tradition, child reads aloud. Like it's like in their early childhood, but it's something emotional. All the other, would you read them aloud? Will there be any other reason to read this?
You mean bedtime stories?
No.
All other things.
Ah.
All the other things.
Maybe email. You can read it to your boss if there is some misunderstanding in it.
You can read this
message.
to your boss because your boss, for some reason,
Misunderstood something, maybe, or
okay, but your boss can read it. What else?
maybe he doesn't know the language, or something like that.
That will be translation.
Yeah. Okay.
Why would you read an email aloud to your boss? It's possible, I can imagine that, but why?
To clarify something, maybe.
To make things clear, yeah.
Maybe you're talking on mobile.
Yeah, because your boss actually can't see it.
Doesn't have access to the internet, maybe, or.
So once again, it's the same. Probably you are already guessing where I'm leading. I talked to some of you about it. Yeah, like you read something aloud when somebody can't read or can't see this. Other cases, it's not quite natural. Okay, what else?
Well, we can
Silent
read
reading.
timetables if we work at reception, for example.
We can read the table aloud, the whole timetable.
Yeah, for example, if customer or client comes to us and asks like, when do we have breakfast, and we can look timetable and tell at
Do
9.
you read the whole timetable aloud in this case?
No, only information that you asked for.
Okay, and are you would you do that as your client who has come up to you, do they see this part?
No, they don't.
So same thing. Cat wants to learn too. Okay, good. So I think we need to keep that in mind. I have more things on my list of how we read. Let's think together. What else can there be?
Silently? You mean how? The ways of reading? Yes, silent reading. It can be. It can be also. Yeah, to yourself.
Okay. How many times do you read one thing? How many times do you normally read one thing? You may look at this list and think maybe we use different strategies.
If it's some scientific article, there might be need to read it more than once to get the information that we need because of some terms.
Yeah, okay. So you said get the information that we need. Okay,
so basically, if we read the articles, we read it for like deeper comprehension.
Yeah,
and some information, some details.
Yeah, so that's why you read it twice.
If it is timetable, so we read it like quickly for specific information to find our flight or to find our train. So it depends. And if it is an article about Kim Kardashian, so we just read it quickly for general comprehension.
Yeah, and it's enough. It's enough attention to her. Okay, yes. I can tell you that being a bit slow, I know that I'm slow, but I'm slow but deep. It's okay. So I read timetables at stage like really slowly and more than once. Like I find the information I need, and then I look through the whole thing once again to make sure that there isn't anything better than I found, for example. Right? So I can read timetables more than once. But yes, Julia, you're totally right. I read it to find some specific information. Yes, but I can read it like once or twice. The other day I read flight timetables so many times, like you can't even imagine, before I did the flight one. Okay, good. So how can we put it here? Scheme scan. Okay, looking for specific information. Yeah. Okay, and for general info about Kardashian, you said, right?
Yeah.
And this is actually the same as the scheme and scan. We're getting okay.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about this. I'm sure that in Russian, it also happens to you. In Russian, Ukrainian, in your native language, whatever it is, like you read a text and there are words which you don't understand. What do you really do with them?
We skip them if we don't like, if they are not blocking words.
They don't, I'll write this word, impede understanding. So basically, if they're not important, we might skip them. If you're very curious and you have lots of time, you might check it in a dictionary. I know such people. They say, I check it in a dictionary. I say, oh, yeah. I hardly ever do that. But okay, there are people who do. Okay.
Probably we can also say, I don't know if we can say that, like target reading, when you have some specific question or specific, like very specific information you need to find.
Does it look like this?
It can be here, yeah? Yeah, sort of.
Okay, if it's different, you can explain, but what you're saying looks like
for example, we have some question or we have some special information to find in this text, not only just general information to educate ourselves somehow, but some specific thing we need to, I don't know, like embrace from this text.
Well, you look for specific information, no? It's not that?
Oh, probably. Yeah, I can agree that it's the same.
Okay, and I was also thinking of how much attention you pay to every word.
Sometimes you know the word, like we see the beginning of the word and we already know what we are going to read, yes, and we just how to say, we don't read like line after line, we just like skim and choose like the most important, the keywords.
And even when I'm reading a book, I might say that, well, I kind of read the information.
Yeah.
My brain chooses the storyline, actually.
Yeah.
Only maybe when I'm reading something by Google, I pay attention to the language. But most of modern literature is just, what's the storyline?
Yeah.
So I actually ignore many words there completely, like I just don't need them. Vice versa. Ignore many or some words. Okay. So this is about the basics, how we do this in our language. Now let's think about the order. I'm not going to read it to write anything for some time. A bit later. Okay, and so I want you to imagine some situation. Tell me who of you has been in London? Has been to London? None. It's very convenient because I want you to imagine that you are in London. You've just arrived. You've just arrived from the airport, and you are at Victoria Station. If you'd been there, you could have imagined the size. It's huge. It's like, well, you can easily get lost there. So you are at Victoria Station in London, and you are there for the first time. You don't know the way. And it's clear that you need to find your way. What do you do?
Try to find some signs with where I can direct myself and find some timetable or ways how to get to the city center.
Okay. Look, there are many signs on every wall, on every, like, I don't know, on every corner. How do you find the one? What do you do?
I think I will have the information with the name of the street where I have to get, and I'll be looking for that street.
We are trying to find a way around the station, not to the city. In the city.
Around the station.
Yeah. London's huge.
Ask people.
Yeah, ask somebody.
Okay. Yeah.
The easiest thing.
Well, for example, like asking people, like you're shy and you've decided to leave.
To get lost. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably it will be good to find the scheme, which will have some visual effect as well, and to read it and try to...
Or maybe to check on the internet. No? We need to find some streets or what?
No, you need to, let's imagine something. You need to find a board with the timetable of your trains. And there are several of them. They're all different.
Maybe there is a map of this station that you can buy, and I don't know, look at that map and find all the signs or something like that.
You need to look at the signs. Signs, boards, like all sorts of things. How do you choose the right one?
Probably we need to pay attention to the keywords. The keywords in the names of those boards or those timetables. Like, what do we need to find out about?
And you look at all of them, like some tell you where the toilets are, some tell you where the banks are, some tell you where the trains are, some tell you where the trains to the airport are, or whatever. I don't remember. Some tell you like where the restaurants are and something else. So what do you...
Well, depending on what information I need, yes, I choose, for example, if I need to find out something located in the station, I will choose the station or trains or
First you skim and then you look for the specific information.
Yeah, like first you need to choose the one which has the information you need, right?
Yeah, sure.
And, there are many with different types of information, and you choose the one. What would you call this? You said skim. Yeah, it's a scientific term, but what does it really mean? Like you
looking for
get through.
You look through, and what exactly do you find out about all these boards? Like timetable of this, timetable of this, and timetable of that, and about everything. What is it?
Contents.
Content. What kind of content? Specific.
Specific. Which
I would say the general. Each board.
At first general.
First general and then specific.
Like the general idea and the general the general content of each one. Like, what is it about? What's the topic of this board? Right. So this is the first thing you do. Oh, you found your board. And this is about restaurants. This is about trains, and this is about shuttles. This is about bus shuttles to the airport. Okay, you need trains. What's next? You found it. What's next?
You find the train that you need. Exactly one.
So you read for specific information, for specific pieces of information.
And you find the train that you need. You find the information you need. Okay, and so you find this line, and what do you do next?
Try to find the way to the train.
Several times.
So this is the information about my train. Okay, so this is the train to, say, Gatwick. Okay, it's another airport. Yeah, so I'm at Victoria Station. I need to get to Gatwick.
Try to find your platform.
You check the time. Yeah, what time is convenient for you. Yes, you check how far it is to get. Yes, and you evaluate all the things that you need. Yeah, how much time you need to spend on the road. When can you get there? And
so this means, look, we found the general idea. Yes, like, oh, okay, not restaurants, not buses, trains. Okay, found it. Then we found specific information. This train to Gatwick. And then what did we do?
Details.
Even more details. Yes, like it's many different trains, which is the random. Then even more detail. Well, and very good. Finally, when you found all this information, Lena said that then we compare it. Yes, and what do we do after that? So we got this information. What do we do with it?
Apply it.
Apply, yes.
Exactly. We apply it. Where do we apply it?
In real life.
Exactly. Perfect. So, and basically, I can assure you that with most of the reading text we've mentioned here at the beginning, you will go through a similar process. Which of the types of texts would you not read in this way? For example, let's talk
bedtime stories, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Some news, maybe, because you might want only to get some key information about what happened in that.
And then when you listen, and the gist of this information tells you that, wow, it's somewhere around you and you need to know.
Yeah, and then you might need to find something more.
Listen or read for information when you find that it's necessary information. Okay, we said that bedtime stories, we probably don't read for specific information and for just
only if child is too talkative or asks too many questions, maybe.
Sorry?
If child is too,
Okay.
Well, I guess probably we read books also, not only not to pay attention to details that very much. It's a fiction, for example. We just read it for entertainment, following the main plot.
Magazines, newspapers as well.
Yeah, it depends. You might specifically, but mostly we do this for entertainment. Yeah, and these articles more than once. Most not scientific, which you mentioned. Yeah, but when you're reading them for pleasure, online. Yeah.
Maybe blogs. Yeah, as well.
Okay. Well, so here it differs, but the majority of texts are read in this very manner. Okay. If it's short, like a sign or a notice, or a short announcement. An announcement can be longer, but it can be shorter. You may like just read once and get all the necessary information. Do this a couple of times. So here I have like comparison, natural process and in class. Let's design a scheme for comparison. I forgot. I highlighted this question and I forgot to ask it. When you were at this Victoria station, when you found yourself in the middle of it, and you started reading, did you understand why you started reading?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah, we have the purpose. We have some real purpose, yeah, some need, necessity.
And did you find this purpose before you started reading or after?
Before.
Yeah.
So, what's the first thing we need when we start reading, or even before we start reading?
Purpose.
Necessity. Purpose, yeah.
So, purpose for reading. Next, what do we do next? Remember this board at Victoria Station? We read them all, and what did we read them?
Find the information.
And
General first, like scheme, yeah. General.
Scheme. Or we also say gist. Okay, and how do we do this? I know. Oh, okay, like this. All right. Here. All right. What's the
Specific?
Specific and
specific info? Maybe.
Scan.
Just a second. Maybe twice. Yes. Remember we.
Yeah.
Scan. Right? Maybe twice, because sometimes once is enough. Very often once is enough. Okay. And the last one.
Details. Details. Reading for details.
But specific information is already details.
So apply in real life. Like,
Yeah. And for details and further details. Okay. And finally, in real life. Okay, yeah, I put use in life. You use the better word, apply. Okay, and remember the question I asked you at the very beginning?
what is communicative?
About the communicative methodology.
Yeah.
That what's the what are we trying to create in the classroom?
Real life situation.
Yeah.
And so this skill language acquisition and skill training in class should be very similar to this natural process. But it has slightly different names. So purpose for reading. In Victoria Station, we naturally had it, right? We just there and we need to find a way. We need to find this train and go there. In class, we teachers create this purpose. And this stage, does anybody know what this stage is called?
Maybe we put the reader into context, like this.
And it's called pre-reading.
Yes.
Or leading, can we call it leading?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, I would say, look, let's do it like this. Come on, it wouldn't do what I wanted to. Just a second. What's the matter? Okay. No. I put this one and now I can't get rid of it. Okay. Okay, like this. Okay, nice. I would put lead in
here, yes, and engage students somehow in the context of the lesson.
Yeah. Put it shortly. Put students in context. Right. Okay. And what's the aim of this stage? Why do we need to do this?
To show why he needs this.
Or to create the
what
information.
you're saying is here.
Information gap.
Yes, to create the information gap.
Yeah. Yeah. To create interest. What else?
To set the purpose.
Okay. Set the purpose. I would actually say that probably set the purpose goes mostly here. Because leading is slightly different. Like
Maybe to motivate students somehow.
Yeah.
Oi. Goodbye. Okay. I don't know, I'm just typing and stuff. Okay, set the purpose, and motivate, right? Sometimes lead-in and pre-reading are kind of together, but many people think that it's in pre-reading that you actually set the purpose and activate schema. I'll ask some of you to explain what that means, if you know. What does that mean?
Probably it's like a set of questions which you need to pay attention to, or something like that.
Like how you're going to deal with this text, what should be done first, next, and after that?
Look, schema is all your knowledge about this topic.
Oh.
In fact, it's like, put student in context and create interest. Well, it's difficult to separate. Like lead-in and pre-reading can be the same or can be different. You can separate them clearly, or they are almost the same. Probably in pre-reading, you specifically set the purpose for reading, right? And why is it important to activate schema here? Okay, imagine yourself reading text, say, about how trains are built. Do you know much about it?
No.
How easy or difficult will it be for you to understand it?
It will be difficult.
Difficult, yeah.
So if you don't know much about it, it's difficult to read it.
What can we activate?
Yeah, look, then with this level of students and with his like life experience, you just don't read it, or you watch a video about it to give at least some information, or I don't know, or you just don't do this with this student. I just wanted to show you that if you know nothing about it, or you don't remember anything about it, it's very difficult to understand. We're talking about reading now, but if we speak about listening, it's even more important, because there is such a thing as overhearing. Overhearing is the most difficult listening skill, especially in the foreign language. In your own language, when you overhear something, like because you're a native speaker, you've got so much information, so much language in your mind, that your brain copes with the task, and out of all these millions and millions of situations, it chooses the right one. But still, if you pay attention, you will notice that it's sometimes not easy to understand what they're talking about when you don't know, when you can't predict the topic. In a second language, it becomes like overly complex, like unbearably complex. And first, I experienced that, and then I read it in the book. When I experienced that, I got depressed. And when I read the book about listening, I felt like, oh, I'm all right. In fact, I'm totally all right. The book said that it's like overhearing, it's the most difficult skill because your brain of a second language speaker does not have all the collection, all the possible collection of topics, or it will never or almost never have enough situations to predict it. So if somehow it managed, then you can understand. If not, then it's almost impossible. And look what happened to me. I was going on the metro in London, and people were talking around me. And can you imagine, they were speaking English. I could hear that was it, but I couldn't understand anything.
Because Londoners.
This was after I took CAE exam. So this was nothing about it. This was exactly about that my poor brain simply couldn't cope with all the possible variety of topics they might be discussing. And just it couldn't choose. Because still I'm not a native speaker, and well, it doesn't happen automatically. And then once again in one shop, like I was looking at some stuff, and a woman approached me and asked me a question. She had to repeat it 3 times, and because I couldn't, like my brain predicted this, and none of this situation matched what she might be asking about. And I had to say just sorry and just leave the place. Because like I couldn't understand. So this is the significance of schema. Like I need to be able to predict at least what at all it might be about. And it's clear that the lower the level, the more important it is. And the more activities you do in the lead-in, to put students in context, and in pre-reading, activating schema, again, like they're very similar, and setting the purpose for reading. So this experience of mine, like after that, I said, okay, yeah, I believe everything. Yeah, I experienced it myself. Now I know. So pre-reading and set the purpose. Why is it important to set the purpose for reading? Set the task, the question. Why is it important?
Make student understand what's going on.
Yeah, maybe because if you don't do this, then some of the students will say, "Why do I need this text?" Yeah, they will ask you before this and after this, right? And your task is...
We should provide students with the reason why to read.
Yeah, purpose, reason. Yes, that's right. Okay, the second stage is called, does anybody know?
While reading.
During. Traditionally, it's called during.
While reading.
So, during reading or just during? Okay. And it has 2 or 3 stages. Not 2, and sometimes 3. What's the one?
Skimming, scanning. Reading for detail.
So skimming is reading for what kind of information?
General comprehension.
General.
For gist or general comprehension. Okay. Well, once again, remember that in order to find the board we need, first we need to understand the topic. And in order to find your way through all the paragraphs in the text, first you need to understand what the structure of the text is, what the topic, like how is it built. Otherwise, like it will take you ages to find information, the needed information. Okay, so first reading for gist. Once again, this is where the student actually reads the text. And do you set the task for the skimming stage before they read or after they read?
Before.
Before.
For, of course.
Sure.
Why is it important? You said of course. Why is it important?
Because again, there should be some purpose why they skim. No purpose.
Yeah. Then this turns into a memory test. This turn with some of you, and we are not testing the students' memory. We are training the students' reading skills. Not like always check yourself. Are you doing a memory test? Or are you doing reading? If you decide that you need a memory test now, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you be aware of it, yeah, and know why you're doing it. That's my idea. Okay. The second stage will be
Scanning.
Yeah, specific
scanning. And what is it?
Reading for specific pieces of information.
For details or specific information. For information. Okay. And there might be one more stage, which is called
Intensive reading.
In fact, yes. Intensive reading is all this reading. Extensive reading, yeah. Thank you very much. This reading, when we don't focus on specific information at all, it is called extensive. It's books, bedtime stories, articles, magazines, blah, blah, blah. And what we do in class and what we do when we look for information, it's intensive reading. Like the whole process is intensive. Here, yeah, like it's, well, in fact, it's once again scanning, but it's like scanning for more details. So
deeper maybe comprehension.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check the meaning of new words, maybe like when some students start asking what it means and so on.
Yeah. Here it can be deeper comprehension or language work. Okay, or maybe vocab focus. Let's put it like this. Vocab focus. Okay, and finally, look at our
After reading.
Traditionally,
follow up.
It's called post-reading.
Post-reading.
Post-reading, yeah. And what do we do here?
To provide students with a chance to respond to the text, to apply this information somehow.
Yeah, I'll repeat it. Apply in real life.
Personalize.
Personalize, yes. So look, okay, conversion, okay. First, you provide the purpose for actually reading the text. And finally, for looking at all these numerous letters, right? And after that, you provide the purpose for all this activity, like why you need this in your life. Because this is what we do. This is why we do the reading. Okay, it can be like how you can apply, personalize. What else can we do here?
practice speaking here, we can for
yeah.
fluency.
And when you
As we have communicative approach, so communicative goal kind of.
Look,
So,
when we practice speaking about the text, what do we speak about?
Discussion on
information from the text.
And when we discuss information from the text, we what?
Ask for students' opinion, maybe.
Opinion, yes. So give opinion, discuss opinion, whatever. Like make conclusions, etc. Personalize, some personalization. Otherwise, it's not clear actually do this. To exercise English, well, good, but not in communicative approach. Because like we need to apply it in real life. Just a second. Through this process, if, for example, here at this stage, at the during stage, the student doesn't find the answer, what do you do?
Ask concept checking questions. Ask concept checking questions.
Yeah, you focus their attention on the text and ask more questions. All right. And who gives answers to this question?
Students.
So at this stage, make sure that it's not you who says, look, here is the phrase. Make sure that it's the student who finds it. Because if you give this answer, who will train the reading skills?
We.
And who needs to train the reading skills in the lesson?
Yes, of course.
Sure. Okay. One of the finalizing questions. How is this process different from listening? Or how is listening different from this?
Probably the scheme is the same, actually.
Yeah.
Definitely. The scheme is the same, but still there are differences.
Maybe pre-teach some vocabulary. We have to pre-teach some vocabulary before.
You can actually
In reading too.
this can be here. Activate schema. For example, pre-teach or revise. Maybe like this. Okay. What else can be different in listening?
Well, probably you should also provide the questions for each stage of during, like skimming, scanning, and scanning for more details.
The same as in
the reading.
In reading, you also provide questions. By the way, in listening, in reading, can the students look at the questions while reading?
Yes,
No.
sure.
While reading is hard.
Yes.
Well, they read both the text and the questions. So it's possible, but it's always better to look through the questions first, yeah, to make sure that, and then go to the text. How about listening? How important is it to look at the questions before students?
Maybe they need to look through the questions before and highlight keywords somewhere.
Or maybe when you haven't trained them to highlight keywords, they at least need to look at the questions before. Because while listening, it's much more difficult than while reading. If you get to this stage at reading, it's like, okay, they'll probably cope. But if you forget the stage in listening task, like, believe me, it's almost impossible. Just you will be giving your students an impossible task. Okay, good. So when I was thinking about the difference, like when reading, you can actually look at the text before you start reading it, and maybe with photos or with the heading or somehow by some signs with the format, you could already get a clue of the format of what it is about or what it is like. With listening, it's impossible. So with listening, this pre-stage becomes extremely important. Mm-hmm. It's important in reading, but in listening, it's much more important. Mm-hmm. Well, not like much more, they are equally important, but if you skip it in listening, once again, you'll be giving your students an impossible task. Mm-hmm. So don't be surprised that they don't go. Still, if you see that your students did not answer this question, did not manage to answer this question through the first or second listening, what do you do?
Try to read the script by yourself, maybe, or
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Maybe listen once again what's up at this specific when there is this information that we need.
Yeah.
And like say, let's listen again and again, several times.
That's right.
It doesn't help, and sometimes it happens that it doesn't help at all. So I like Lena's variant when really we can give this.
It depends on student, because sometimes it's like extremely difficult to get the idea for the student, and like they are used.
Sure. Look, what I suggest is as follows. So you listen for the first time, skimming. Okay. Sometimes they, for some reason, don't cope with the skimming task from the first listening. If it's a lower level, okay, there will be another skimming. It's not exactly like according to the classical scheme, but well, students are live creatures. Okay, then you go for details, and your students gets half of details, right? Then it appears that you need to listen to it again, and that will be not two listenings for the first and the second stage, but four. Okay, and if your student does not cope with this second stage for after two listenings, I would do what Irina said. First, help them to listen and like focus them on specifically this part. Then, if they can't hear, I personally would say it and ask them to listen again and try to hear this specific thing. If we, it's close to what you said, read the script, but I wouldn't read the script myself, especially the whole script. No, only maybe the word, but I can repeat it. Yeah, like I don't need to read the script. But after that, I would give the student the script to read, to clarify everything. Like not I read the script, but the student. Remember, the student does the job, not I. All right. Okay. So this is the comment which I could think of about. The rest seems to be very similar. The final question. What do you do if in the book you're using one or more than one stages from the scheme are absent?
Add ourselves.
I don't know why this happened, but some book writers really skip some of the stages, although they are extremely important, all of them. This is like I don't know, I haven't seen a better scheme for training reading or listening. So you create them yourself, you just add them. But for that, you need to know what kind of tasks there are. And this leads us to our kind of homework. We aren't going to have a practical seminar here. You're going to try and apply it in your lessons and then I'll see that in your work and help you if this still sounds something unclear. Homework. You have this scheme, and you need to look through 2 or 3 different books, preferably from different writers or publishers. Yeah, like not only New English File or not only Speak Out, but English File and Speak Out, right? Or English File and Speak Out, and also something like Headway is still there. You know, yeah, you need to look them through and find different kinds of pre-reading tasks. Like pre-reading, this means that the student hasn't read the text yet. During for skimming, during for scanning like first set of details, and during for scanning for further details. You will see that sometimes there is just one, and sometimes there are 2. I'll put this one in brackets. And then you need to look at how reading works. In a good book, there will usually be a question or a task or a discussion or something.
Sure.
Collect your survival kit for all this types of tasks. So this will be your homework, and I hope you'll be able to apply it in your work. At this point, do you have any questions?
Not now.
Everything is clear.
Sorry?
Everything is clear. Thank you.
Very good. I was trying to make it and that was, it really took me time to think how to create this understanding, but I hope it's clear. So you have your homework, and I hope to see your attempts, whether they are more or less successful, it doesn't matter. Your attempts and clear trying to use this scheme in your work. Okay. And I promise your students will benefit and you will feel their progress.
So, yes, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye.
That's great. Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Good night.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Good night.